Before we begin, let me say something important. What I'm about to share is not common advice, it's not motivational talk, and it's not comfortable. In the next minutes, I will show you 7 things you should never share with people, things most people talk about every single day, without realizing how deeply this sabotages their life, their peace, and their results. If you've ever felt like your plans never fully work, your progress is slow or blocked, your energy feels drained, or your life seems stuck in invisible resistance, stop blaming the universe. Stop blaming bad luck. The problem is much closer than you think. It's not out there, it's not fate, it's your mouth. Most people destroy their own momentum without noticing. Not through actions, through words. There are secrets that protect and secrets that destroy. But the most dangerous secrets are the ones you don't keep. Powerful people, builders, creators, and highly successful individuals all share one silent skill. They know exactly what not to talk about. This video is not about becoming rich. It's about allowing your life to flow without constant interference. And I can almost guarantee this. You are sharing at least 3 of these 7 things right now. The good news, the moment you stop, things begin to shift. Quietly, naturally, quickly. Let's start with the first one. Never talk about your plans and goals. There is a mistake so common, so socially accepted, that almost no one questions it. Talking about your plans, talking about what you're going to do, what you're building, what you're working on. At first glance, it seems harmless, even positive. People call it motivation, they call it clarity, they call it sharing. But psychologically, energetically and behaviorally, it is one of the fastest ways to sabotage your own progress. Here's why. Every plan is born fragile. Not weak, but fragile. In the beginning, an idea doesn't need exposure. It needs containment. Your mind, however, confuses talking with doing. When you tell someone about your plan, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical involved in reward and accomplishment. Your nervous system doesn't fully distinguish between describing success and experiencing success. So when you talk, your mind registers partial completion. This is called symbolic substitution. You replace action with narration. You feel productive. You feel seen. You feel validated. But nothing has actually been built. This is why some people talk endlessly and never move. They feel busy, they feel involved, they feel like they're progressing. But all they're doing is feeding the illusion of movement. There is a reason why people who talk the most usually produce the least. Talking drains momentum, silence concentrates it. There is another layer here, and it's even more dangerous. The moment you share a plan, you open it to external influence, opinions, doubts, projections, fears that are not yours. Most people believe sabotage comes from enemies. That's naive. Sabotage almost always comes disguised as concern. Are you sure this is the right time? That seems risky. I know someone who tried something similar and failed. Maybe you should wait until things are more stable. Each sentence sounds reasonable. Each one feels logical. Each one weakens your internal certainty, and certainty is the fuel of execution. Here is an uncomfortable truth. Very few people want to see you rise beyond them. Some will consciously resist it. Most will do it unconsciously. Your growth forces people to confront their own stagnation, and not everyone is willing to do that. So they slow you down. They plant hesitation. They inject fear, not because they hate you, but because your movement threatens their comfort. Even people who love you carry limiting beliefs. A parent may fear losing you. A friend may fear being left behind. A colleague may fear comparison, so they pull you back toward familiarity. Another hidden danger of sharing plans is dilution. Every opinion slightly reshapes the original vision. You start adjusting, explaining, defending, justifying. Your plan slowly becomes something else. something safer, something smaller, something more acceptable, until one day you don't even recognize it anymore. This is why you see people with brilliant ideas that slowly collapse into mediocrity. Too many voices, too early. Ancient traditions understood this instinctively. Alchemists never revealed their process. They revealed the result. They knew that transformation requires isolation. Interference corrupts creation. A plan is like a fire being born. At first, it needs protection, not wind, not rain, not spectators. Every word spoken prematurely is like a drop of water on that fire. Enough drops, and the flame dies. There is also a structural psychological trap here. When you talk about your plans, you receive social feedback. People nod, people compliment, people react. Your brain interprets that as progress, and progress reduces urgency. You relax, you slow down, you postpone execution. That's why people who announce goals publicly often feel less pressure to complete them. The announcement replaces the discipline. Silence, on the other hand, creates tension. Unexpressed intention builds pressure. Pressure creates action. There is a reason why powerful people move quietly, not because they are secretive by nature, but because they understand leverage. Information is power only while it is contained. The moment everyone knows, resistance increases. Obstacles multiply. Energy disperses. Think about it. How many people truly benefit from knowing your plans? Very few. How many people can unconsciously interfere? Many. This is not paranoia. This is human psychology. Your plan does not need witnesses. It needs execution. Another overlooked aspect is identity formation. When you repeatedly say, "I'm going to do this," "I'm planning that," "I'm working on something big," you begin to identify as someone who plans, not someone who builds. Your identity shifts subtly. You become the person who talks about becoming someone, and identity drives behavior. Do you know the most dangerous sentence in personal growth? "I'm working on it." It sounds responsible, it sounds mature, but it often hides avoidance. Builders don't announce. They move. Results are loud. Processes are silent. There is a reason why when something finally works, explanations feel unnecessary. Success does not require justification. The result speaks for itself. When you understand this, your behavior changes. You stop explaining yourself. You stop seeking approval. You stop narrating your intentions. You move quietly. You build privately. You protect your vision. And when the result arrives, it shocks people. They say, "I had no idea." Exactly. That's the point. Silence is not weakness. It is strategy. Your plans are not meant to be social content. They are meant to become reality. Speak less, build more, and let the outcome do the talking. Never talk about your relationship. There is something deeply misunderstood about intimacy. Most people believe that love grows when it is shared with the world, that happiness becomes stronger when it is spoken out loud, that relationships need visibility to be validated. This belief destroys more relationships than betrayal, because intimacy is not strengthened by exposure, it is strengthened by protection. A relationship is not just two people, it is a psychological ecosystem. And ecosystems collapse when exposed to unnecessary interference. The moment you start talking about your relationship to others, something subtle begins to break. It doesn't break immediately, it erodes, slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. Let's start with the most common mistake: talking positively about your relationship. "I'm so happy. We never fight. He's amazing. She's perfect." It sounds harmless. It sounds loving. But psychologically, this triggers something dangerous in others: comparison. The human brain is wired to compare upward and downward. When someone hears about your happiness, their brain immediately contrasts it with their own reality. And if their reality feels inferior, discomfort appears. Discomfort often turns into resentment. Resentment turns into projection. People start searching for flaws, for cracks, for proof that your happiness is not real. Are you sure? No relationship is that perfect. Be careful. That sounds too good to be true. Notice how doubt enters disguised as wisdom. Very rarely will someone say, "I hope your relationship stays strong." Much more often, they'll say, "Just don't get your hopes too high." That sentence alone plants a seed, and seeds grow. Even when you talk well about your relationship, you activate envy, not necessarily conscious envy, but emotional imbalance. In today's world, many people are lonely, disconnected, emotionally frustrated. Your happiness becomes a mirror of what they don't have, and mirrors make people uncomfortable, so they distort the reflection. Now let's talk about the other extreme. Talking badly about your relationship, complaining, venting, explaining fights, listing flaws. This is even more destructive, because every time you talk negatively about your partner, you reinforce that narrative in your own mind. The brain strengthens whatever is repeated. Neural pathways deepen with repetition, so when you repeatedly describe your partner as careless, cold, unreliable, difficult, your brain starts organizing reality around that perception. You stop noticing nuance. You stop seeing effort. You stop seeing growth. You see only what you've trained your mind to see. And it gets worse. People don't forget what you tell them. You may forgive, you may heal, you may reconcile, but the listener doesn't reset. Your friends will forever remember the version of your partner you described during pain. Your family will silently judge. Your circle will subtly influence. They'll ask questions, make comments, create distance. You turn your relationship into public property, and public property invites opinions. Another brutal truth. Every time you complain about your partner to others, you betray intimacy, not physically, psychologically. A relationship is built on confidentiality, on safety, on the sense that what happens inside is protected. When that boundary is broken, trust erodes. Even if your partner never finds out, your nervous system knows. There is guilt, there is tension, there is internal conflict, and tension accumulates. There is also a performance trap that few people talk about. When you expose your relationship publicly, you create an image, the perfect couple, or the struggling couple. Once that image exists, you feel pressure to maintain it. If the image is positive, you feel trapped performing happiness. You're not allowed bad days. You're not allowed silence. You're not allowed distance. If the image is negative, you feel trapped staying unhappy, because changing would contradict the story you told. So you unconsciously stay aligned with the narrative. Either way, authenticity disappears. Your relationship stops being lived. It starts being managed. There is also the issue of external sabotage. Some people derive pleasure from watching relationships fail, not because they are evil, but because destruction soothes their own wounds. They ask innocent questions. They make subtle suggestions. They introduce doubt. "Don't you think he spends too much time away?" She takes long to reply, doesn't she? That behavior is usually a red flag. These comments linger, they echo, they replay, and soon, what was once peace becomes suspicion. The intimacy of a couple is like fire. Inside the home, it warms. Outside, exposed to wind, it dies. Ancient wisdom understood this. Sacred unions were kept private, protected, hidden from unnecessary eyes. Not because love is fragile, but because attention is powerful. Where attention goes, energy flows. When dozens of minds are focusing on your relationship, each with different emotions, insecurities, and projections, coherence breaks. your relationship loses energetic integrity. And here's the deepest layer. When you speak about your relationship, you are outsourcing meaning. Instead of feeling it, you explain it. Instead of experiencing it, you narrate it. This shifts your focus outward. Love thrives inward. The strongest relationships are often the quietest. They don't need proof. They don't need witnesses. They don't need validation. They grow in silence, in consistency, in privacy. Your relationship is not content. It is a sanctuary. Protect it. The less you explain, the more it strengthens. And the more it strengthens, the less you'll ever feel the need to talk about it. Never talk about how much you earn. Money is one of the most emotionally charged subjects in human psychology, not because of numbers, but because of identity. The moment you talk about how much you earn, you stop talking about money. You start talking about who you are. And that is where the danger begins. Most people think sharing income is transparency, honesty, confidence. In reality, it creates distortion, judgment, unnecessary vulnerability. There is no scenario where talking about your income benefits you. If you earn little, you are diminished. If you earn a lot, you are targeted. Let's start with the first case. When you tell people you earn little, you are not just sharing information. You are declaring a role. Your brain listens to your words. Your subconscious absorbs them as truth. I'm broke. I barely make anything. Money is tight. These are not descriptions. They are identities. The subconscious does not understand context. It understands repetition. So every time you say these words, your mind organizes reality around scarcity. Opportunities avoid you. People unconsciously perceive you as fragile, unreliable, limited. And here's a harsh truth most people avoid. Success attracts success. Struggle attracts distance. People who are building something rarely want to attach themselves to someone who constantly verbalizes lack. Not because they are cruel, but because the human mind seeks expansion, not contraction. When you speak scarcity, you radiate it. Now let's look at the other side. Talking about earning well. This seems safer, even admirable, but it's more dangerous. The moment you reveal high income, you trigger comparison. Comparison creates resentment. Resentment creates stories. He got lucky. She knows someone. He must be doing something unethical. She doesn't deserve it. Your effort is erased. Your discipline is ignored. Your struggle is minimized. You are no longer a person. You are a symbol. And symbols attract projections. Suddenly everyone has opinions about your money, how you should spend it, how you shouldn't complain, how you shouldn't say no. Emergencies appear, requests multiply, boundaries are tested, and there's a subtle psychological trap. When others know you earn well, they unconsciously reduce your right to be human. You can't complain. At least you have money. Wish I had your problems. Your emotions become invalid. Your stress becomes illegitimate. Money isolates when exposed. There is also a silent, energetic consequence. When you talk about income, you externalize power. Instead of your financial life being a private system you control, it becomes a social narrative others comment on. And narratives influence behavior. You start justifying purchases, explaining decisions, defending success. That constant defense drains energy. Another overlooked aspect, when you tell people you earn well, prices change. Not officially, psychologically. Suddenly, services cost more, deals disappear. People assume you can afford anything. You become a walking wallet in the eyes of others. And if you tell people you earn poorly, it's worse. You internalize limitation. Your brain adapts to the story. You unconsciously seek confirmation. Unexpected expenses appear, clients disappear. Progress slows because the mind is loyal to the identity you give it. Silence interrupts this loop. Silence allows restructuring. Here's something few people understand. Money responds to focus, not noise. The more you speak about money emotionally, the more unstable your relationship with it becomes. Wealthy individuals across history understood this instinctively. They didn't announce income. They didn't justify success. They didn't narrate their financial journey. They allowed results to speak. Results do not argue. They do not require explanation. They do not invite debate. There is also a moral illusion attached to money talk. People believe that hiding income is arrogance, or secrecy, or dishonesty. It's not. It's boundaries. Your financial life is a private ecosystem. When exposed, it destabilizes. When protected, it grows. Silence around money does not mean fear. It means maturity. You don't need validation. You don't need envy. You don't need pity. You need clarity, focus, consistency, work in silence, grow quietly, adjust internally. And when transformation happens, you won't need to explain anything, because people don't question results, they adapt to them. Money flows best when it is not discussed emotionally, when it is not used for identity, when it is not turned into a story. Silence preserves power, and power compounds quietly. Never turn your problems into conversation. There is a habit that silently destroys momentum, confidence, and opportunity. Most people don't even notice it. They think they are just talking, just venting, just being honest. But what they are really doing is rehearsing failure out loud. Turning problems into conversation is one of the fastest ways to trap yourself in them. At first, it feels harmless. You talk about stress. You talk about obstacles. You talk about how hard things are. People listen. They nod. They sympathize. And your brain receives a reward. Attention, validation, belonging. This is where the trap begins. The mind does not distinguish between processing and reinforcing. Every time you describe a problem, you strengthen its neural footprint. You are not releasing it. You are reprogramming it deeper. Think about this carefully. Every time you tell a story, your brain relives it. Emotionally, physiologically, neurologically. Your heart rate shifts. Your muscles tense. Your stress hormones rise. You are not talking about the problem. You are re-experiencing it, and repetition creates familiarity. Familiarity creates identity. Slowly, without noticing, you become the person with problems, the one who is always dealing with something, always overwhelmed, always stuck. People begin to expect it from you. They don't see potential. They see difficulty. They don't see growth. They see crisis. Opportunities avoid crisis. Here is a hard truth most people avoid. The world does not reward pain. It rewards clarity. Suffering does not attract solutions. Presence does. When you constantly talk about your problems, you anchor yourself to the past. Even if you want to move forward, your language keeps pulling you back. There is also a social illusion. Many people believe that sharing problems builds connection. Sometimes it does, but more often it builds dependency. You become bonded through limitation, not growth. And there is something darker underneath. People secretly compare themselves to your struggles. It makes them feel safer. At least I'm not like that. At least my life isn't that bad. Your pain becomes someone else's comfort, not because they are evil, but because the human ego seeks relief. This creates an invisible imbalance. You give emotional energy, others consume it, and you leave each conversation lighter in connection but heavier in spirit. There is another layer most people never see. When you speak problems casually, you normalize them. You stop treating them as temporary challenges. They become permanent conditions. You say things like, "This always happens to me. My life is just complicated. I've always been like this." These phrases shape reality. Your mind hears permanence. It stops searching for exits. The brain is efficient. If a problem feels normal, it stops trying to solve it. Complaining becomes maintenance. There is also the illusion of relief. Talking feels good in the moment, but relief is not resolution. Relief fades. The problem stays, and now it has witnesses. People remember what you said. Even if you change, their perception lags behind. You fix the issue, you grow, you evolve, but others still see you through the lens of your past complaints. You unintentionally trap yourself in an old version of yourself. This is why high performers are selective. They don't broadcast struggles. They don't narrate chaos. They don't turn difficulty into entertainment, not because they don't suffer, but because they understand something crucial. Problems require silence to be solved. Silence creates space. Space creates perspective. Perspective creates strategy. There is a difference between seeking help and spreading pain. Seeking help is intentional, targeted, constructive. It involves the right person, the right context, the right objective. Turning problems into conversation is emotional leakage. It drains focus. It attracts opinions rooted in fear. It multiplies doubt. Most advice people give is projection. If I were you, I wouldn't risk it. That's dangerous. Better stay safe. They don't know your capacity. They know their limits, and those limits get handed to you disguised as wisdom. This is how ambition dies quietly, not through failure, but through constant exposure to small fears. There is also a neurological cost. The brain learns through repetition. If you talk about problems daily, your brain develops a problem-seeking filter. It scans reality for confirmation, and it always finds it. You don't see solutions because your mind is tuned to detect threats. You become highly skilled at explaining why things don't work, and unskilled at building what does. Silence interrupts this cycle. When you stop narrating problems, something uncomfortable happens. You are left alone with them. No audience, no validation, no sympathy, only responsibility. And responsibility is where power lives. In silence, you think differently. You stop dramatizing. You start observing. You notice patterns. You see leverage points. You identify what is actually within your control. Silence turns pain into data, and data leads to action. There is a reason ancient philosophies valued restraint of speech, not to suppress truth, but to preserve energy. Words are carriers. They transmit emotional charge. When you speak problems, you send that charge outward, and it returns amplified. When you contain problems, energy stays internal and transforms. This does not mean isolation. It means discernment. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Not every struggle needs a witness. Some things must be processed privately, refined internally, solved quietly. Then, when you speak again, you speak from resolution, not from reaction. And that changes everything. People listen differently. Opportunities respond differently. Life meets you at a higher level. Silence is not weakness. It is containment. And containment is strength. Don't announce your wins before they are complete. There is a moment in every achievement where silence matters more than celebration. Most people miss it. They feel progress. They feel excitement. They feel momentum. And they speak too soon. They announce what is still fragile. They share what is still forming. They expose what still needs protection. This habit looks harmless, even positive. After all, isn't it good to share good news? Isn't success meant to be celebrated? Not yet, because the human mind has a dangerous shortcut. It confuses expression with completion. The moment you talk about a win that isn't finished, your brain releases reward chemicals, dopamine, relief, validation, and that chemical response creates a false sense of arrival. You feel like you already crossed the finish line, even though you're still in the middle of the race. This is not motivation, it's premature closure. Your nervous system relaxes, your urgency drops, your discipline softens, action slows down. This is why people who talk the most often finish the least. They satisfy the emotional need before satisfying reality. The brain is simple. It works on signals. When you announce progress publicly, your mind hears, "This is done," and it reallocates energy elsewhere. This is the same mechanism behind why people who constantly talk about goals struggle to execute them. Speech replaces effort. Attention replaces discipline. Applause replaces endurance. There is also an external force most people underestimate: other people's minds. Not everyone who hears your win is aligned with it. Some feel comparison, some feel envy, some feel doubt, some feel threatened. Most won't say it, but they feel it, and emotions are contagious. Every reaction you receive, positive or negative, introduces noise into your process. Advice you didn't ask for, opinions you don't need, questions that create doubt. Are you sure? That seems risky. I heard that usually doesn't work. Suddenly, what was clear becomes complicated, not because the path changed, but because too many minds entered it. Silence protects momentum. There is a reason ancient builders worked behind walls, not to hide, but to shield. Transformation requires containment. When something is still growing, it needs insulation. Plants don't grow faster when exposed. They grow stronger when protected. Winds are the same. Another psychological layer exists here: identity. When you announce a win too early, you attach your identity to it. You become the person who is doing X, the one who finally changed, the one who succeeded. Now, you are no longer just building. You are performing, and performance adds pressure. You are no longer free to fail privately. You are no longer allowed to adjust quietly. You must maintain the image you created. This creates fear. Fear of embarrassment, fear of inconsistency, fear of losing status. Fear slows growth. The mind under observation behaves differently. It becomes cautious, rigid, defensive. Creativity drops. Risk tolerance shrinks. You start protecting perception instead of improving reality. This is why many people peak early and stagnate. They expose the seed before it becomes a tree. True confidence doesn't need witnesses. It doesn't rush to be seen. It doesn't need validation. It trusts the process. There is also a spiritual dimension. Regardless of belief system, energy follows focus. When you share wins too early, your focus shifts outward, from mastery to approval, from consistency to reaction. You start checking how others respond, how many people noticed, who commented, who didn't. Your attention leaks, and attention is your most valuable resource. The more attention you give to reactions, the less you give to refinement. Silence keeps attention where it belongs, on the work, on the process, on the next step. High-level performers understand this instinctively. They don't talk about what they're building. They let results introduce themselves. They don't announce victories. They embody them. When they finally speak, there is nothing to explain. The evidence speaks. This doesn't mean suppressing joy. It means internalizing it. Celebrate privately. Acknowledge progress inwardly. Let satisfaction come from alignment, not applause. There is a difference between quiet confidence and hidden insecurity. Quiet confidence grows. Hidden insecurity leaks. One seeks completion, the other seeks reassurance. Ask yourself honestly, when you want to announce a win, what are you really seeking? Recognition, relief, permission to slow down. If the win is real, it will stand without explanation. If it needs defending, it isn't finished. Silence is not denial of success. It is respect for it. Finish what you start. Stabilize what you build. Anchor what you become. Then, if you choose to speak, you do it from certainty, not excitement, not impulse, not hunger for validation. And by then, nothing can take it away. Speaking badly of others drains your power without you realizing it. Most people believe that talking about others is harmless, just a comment, just an opinion, just being honest. But what you speak about others quietly reshapes your inner world. Every word you direct outward returns inward, not metaphorically, neurologically, psychologically, energetically. When you speak badly about someone, your mind enters a specific mode: comparison, judgment, superiority, resentment. And while it may feel momentarily relieving, it comes with a hidden cost. Your attention shifts away from creation and moves toward evaluation. You stop building, you start measuring. This is subtle, but destructive. Judgment feels powerful because it gives a temporary sense of control. If I can explain why they're wrong, I don't have to face what I'm avoiding in myself. Criticism is easier than transformation. Commentary is easier than discipline. The human mind loves shortcuts, and gossip is one of the easiest. But here's the mechanism most people don't see. Whatever you repeatedly observe, your brain learns to recognize faster. If you constantly look for flaws in others, your mind becomes a flaw detection machine. And once that circuit is trained, it doesn't stop with others. It turns inward. You become harsher with yourself, more self-critical, less tolerant of your own learning curve. Your inner dialogue starts to mirror your outer speech. This is why people who constantly criticize others often struggle with confidence. They sharpen the blade they eventually use on themselves. There is also a powerful emotional loop involved. When you talk badly about someone, especially in a group, you create bonding through negativity. Shared disapproval feels like connection, but it's a fragile bond. It's not built on growth, it's built on exclusion. And bonds built on exclusion eventually require a new target. Sooner or later, that target becomes you. People who gossip with you will gossip about you, not because they are evil, but because that is the only language they practice. Your nervous system senses this, even if you don't consciously realize it. You become guarded, less open, less authentic. Trust erodes. Another layer exists here. Attention is energy. Where attention goes, energy flows. When you speak badly about others, you pour energy into lives, behaviors, and outcomes that are not yours. You mentally rehearse their mistakes, their flaws, their failures. Meanwhile, your own life waits. Growth doesn't happen while you are busy dissecting someone else's path. The mind cannot deeply focus on two directions at once. Either you refine yourself or you monitor others. You can't do both. There is also a karmic, psychological mirror effect that most people ignore. The traits you criticize most intensely often reflect unresolved conflicts within you. This doesn't mean you are the same as the person you judge. It means the emotional charge comes from recognition, not similarity. Your mind reacts strongly to what it hasn't integrated. If someone's success irritates you, there is likely a suppressed desire inside you. If someone's laziness angers you, there may be exhaustion you haven't acknowledged. If someone's arrogance triggers you, there may be self-expression you've denied yourself. Judgment is information, not about them, about you. But most people misuse that information. Instead of self-reflection, they externalize it. They turn insight into attack. This keeps them stuck. There is also a physiological consequence. Speaking negatively activates stress responses. Cortisol increases, muscle tension rises, heart rate subtly shifts. Your body doesn't distinguish between real threat and imagined hostility. To your nervous system, criticism feels like conflict. And conflict, when repeated, becomes a baseline state. You live slightly activated, slightly defensive, slightly tense. Over time, this erodes health, creativity, and emotional resilience. This is why some people feel constantly drained without understanding why. They are leaking energy through their words, Silence, in this context, is not passivity, it is mastery. To observe without reacting is a form of strength most people never develop. It requires emotional regulation, self-awareness, and humility. Not everything needs your opinion. Not every flaw needs your commentary. Your life improves dramatically when you stop narrating other people's mistakes. High-level individuals understand this. They don't waste attention on who is failing. They study what works. They don't attack. They analyze. They don't gossip. They integrate lessons quietly. This doesn't mean tolerating harmful behavior. It means choosing where your energy goes. You can set boundaries without character assassination. You can walk away without verbal violence. There is dignity in restraint, and there is power in redirecting focus inward. Ask yourself this. After you speak badly about someone, do you feel lighter long-term, or just momentarily superior? Temporary relief is not healing. It's distraction. Growth feels different. Growth is quiet, focused, unimpressive to observers, but transformative to the one practicing it. When you stop speaking badly about others, something unexpected happens. Your mind clears, your emotional bandwidth increases, your confidence stabilizes. You become harder to provoke, less reactive, more centered, not because the world changed, but because your attention did, and attention, when disciplined, becomes destiny. Betraying. Confidence is the fastest way to destroy your inner stability. There is one habit that quietly dismantles trust, power, and prosperity. Most people don't even see it as a problem. They call it sharing. They call it venting. They call it conversation. But in reality, it is one of the most destructive behaviors a person can cultivate. Revealing what was entrusted to you. When someone tells you something in confidence, they are not just sharing information, they are offering vulnerability. Vulnerability is rare, and it is sacred. The moment someone trusts you with something private, something fragile, something unfinished, a bond is formed. Not a social bond, a psychological one. And when you break that bond, even subtly, even without bad intentions, something breaks inside you too. Because the mind learns from patterns. If you cannot protect the vulnerability of others, your nervous system registers that vulnerability itself is unsafe. You become guarded, suspicious, internally tense. Even if no one ever confronts you, even if no one ever finds out, your body knows. This is why people who gossip or expose secrets often live with a background level of anxiety. They are always monitoring, always checking, always calculating. Did I say too much? Will this come back to me? What if they find out? This constant low-level vigilance is exhausting. Trust is not only something others give you, it's something you give yourself. And every time you violate someone else's trust, you weaken your own. There is also a deeper psychological mechanism at play. People who cannot hold secrets unconsciously communicate something to life itself. I am not ready for responsibility. Prosperity at every level is built on trust. Financial trust, emotional trust, relational trust, spiritual trust. If life were to hand you something bigger, heavier, more impactful, could you hold it? If you can't hold a secret, how will you hold abundance? If you can't guard intimacy, how will you guard opportunity? This is not punishment. It's alignment. Life gives according to capacity, and capacity is proven in small things. Many people sabotage themselves here without realizing it. They repeat something just to one person. They soften it. They justify it. I didn't mean harm. I was just worried. I needed to talk to someone. But notice something important. When you share someone else's secret, who benefits? Not the person who trusted you, not you in the long term. It only feeds momentary stimulation, curiosity, drama, social relevance. And stimulation is not fulfillment. The mind addicted to stimulation is easily distracted, easily influenced, easily destabilized. There is also an energetic cost that few people understand. When someone confides in you, their emotional field opens. If you expose that field to others, you disrupt their sense of safety. Even if they never consciously know why, relationships cool, distance appears, something feels off. And from your side, something changes too. You stop being chosen. People stop sharing, stop opening up, stop trusting. Opportunities begin to bypass you, not because of bad luck, but because trust is no longer flowing toward you. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is containment. The ability to contain is one of the highest forms of power. Strong people don't need to speak about everything they know. Wise people don't need to reveal everything they see. They understand timing, context, responsibility. There is a reason ancient traditions valued secrecy, not because of manipulation, but because transformation requires protection. Anything unfinished is fragile. Dreams, healing, growth, change. When you expose unfinished things to too many eyes, they collapse under interference. This applies to others and to you. If you want stability, depth, and long-term growth, learn this rule. Not everything you hear is meant to travel. Not everything you know is meant to be shared. Not everything that enters your awareness is yours to distribute. Holding a secret is an act of integrity. Integrity is not morality. It's coherence. When your words, actions, and inner values align, your system relaxes. Your mind becomes calmer. Your body becomes steadier. Your decisions become clearer. This is why people with strong integrity often appear grounded. They are not leaking energy through loose speech. They are not fragmenting themselves socially. They are whole. And now we arrive at the deeper truth behind this entire video. Everything you communicate shapes your identity. Your words are not neutral. They are instructions to your mind, to your nervous system, to the world around you. What you say repeatedly, you become. If you speak scarcity, you live scarcity. If you speak chaos, you feel chaos. If you speak betrayal, you live in distrust. And if you cultivate silence, discernment, and intentional speech, your life begins to stabilize in ways that feel almost invisible at first, but powerful. This video was not about superstition. It was about psychological alignment, about how what you say, repeat, and expose programs your identity, your nervous system, and your results. Most people think communication is just expression. It isn't. It's conditioning. Every word you repeat teaches your mind what kind of life to expect, what kind of limits to accept, what kind of future feels normal. And most of this happens unconsciously. That's why so many people feel blocked without knowing why. They are not cursed. They are not unlucky. They are simply reinforcing the same patterns every day through what they say out loud. This video was meant to interrupt that pattern, not to motivate you, not to scare you, but to make you aware. Because awareness is the first real shift. If this made you pause, even for a second, then it already did its job. Now, observe your words this week, not to censor yourself, but to notice. Notice what you repeat. Notice what you expose. Notice what you turn into identity. Silence is not weakness, it is strategy. And discernment is a form of intelligence most people never develop. If you know someone who talks too much about their life and keeps wondering why nothing changes, share this video with them. Not to teach, but to plant a seed. And if you want more content like this, subscribe, not for constant uploads, not for noise, but for perspective.